Nina Borowski is an energetic, bright, and independent woman. She works as a social worker and lives in a cozy apartment in Brooklyn. Her life seems to be quite stable, but inside she feels dissatisfaction. Nina cannot find harmony in her personal relationships and often finds that other people, particularly her half-sister Constance, try to interfere in her life. Constance is a woman who believes that Nina needs to be with a high society man and constantly arranges dates for her with men of her own choosing. But Nina, despite her sister's interference, already has a boyfriend, Vince, with whom she can't form a deep and real relationship. One day Nina attends a party organized by Constance and her husband Sydney. That evening, Nina meets George Hansen, a young and attractive elementary school teacher who happens to be gay. George, despite his open sexual orientation, makes a strong impression on Nina. He is outgoing, intelligent, and seems to have something about him that is appealing. Nina decides to share her problem with him. She tells George that her half-sister won't stop trying to arrange her personal life, ignoring the fact that Nina already has a boyfriend. This conversation becomes important to Nina because she finally finds someone with whom she can discuss her worries and feelings. During this conversation, Nina also tells George about the difficult situation he is in. He reveals that his relationship with Dr. Robert Jolie, his boyfriend, is in crisis. He was fired from his job and is now looking for a new place to live. Robert and George are going through a difficult period in their relationship, and George is beginning to feel that their connection is coming to an end. Nina, upon learning that George is looking for a place to live, suggests that he move into her apartment. She doesn't think long, but simply says that she has a spare room and is willing to offer George a place to live. George, though hesitant to accept right away, realizes deep down that this offer could be his salvation. He is stunned and his feelings are mixed, as at that moment he does not yet know that Robert has made the decision to break up with him. Meanwhile, despite the uncertainty, George makes the decision to move in with Nina. He is faced with emotions of bitterness as his relationship with Robert has ended and he needs a new support, which he finds in Nina. When George moves in, their relationship begins to change. At first they are just neighbors, but gradually not only respect but also a real friendship develops between them. Nina supports George when he is having a hard time, and she notices how he changes in her presence. George, despite his emotional wound, becomes increasingly attached to Nina. He feels that she becomes an important person to him, someone with whom he can share his hardships and joys. George becomes a true friend to Nina, and every day she feels more and more how he affects her life. Despite her relationship with Vince, Nina begins to experience strange feelings toward George. It's hard to call these feelings mere friendship, but she realizes that her connection to him goes beyond a normal relationship. George, in turn, feels these changes as well, and each day it becomes more and more difficult to maintain the distance between them that is necessary, given that Nina cannot be with him romantically. George increasingly feels that his own feelings for Nina are becoming unbearable, but on the other hand, he realizes that they can't be together the way Nina wants them to be, since he is gay and Nina is heterosexual. Despite the growing tension, Nina decides that she cannot continue her relationship with Vince. Their relationship becomes increasingly superficial, and Nina feels that she cannot be with him because he does not support her, does not understand her. At some point, Nina decides to end her relationship with him. This decision becomes an important step for her in finding her own happiness. She now feels that she is ready to live her life the way she wants, without pressure from other people. George, although going through his own personal drama, becomes a support for her, someone with whom she can be herself. However, George, realizing that their feelings for each other are becoming too strong, decides to leave Nina's apartment. He feels that his staying there is no longer just a housing solution, but something more. Nina also realizes that she is beginning to grow attached to George, but she cannot force him to stay. He feels that it would be unfair to Nina and he decides that he needs to leave so that they can both move on. This decision becomes a difficult but necessary one for both of them. In parallel, Nina realizes that you don't always have to be in a romantic relationship with a person to feel love. Her feelings for George don't go away, but she realizes that they can be happy without it. She realizes that true affection doesn't have to be expressed through physical intimacy. Nina decides to support George in finding his way in happiness, even though their relationship may not be romantic. She realizes that their connection is not just a crush, but a true friendship based on mutual respect and support. Despite all the difficulties and worries, Nina and George remain close friends. Nina realizes that her happiness does not depend on being in a relationship with someone, but on being honest with herself and those she cares about. She realizes that she can be happy not by following the expectations of those around her, but by following her own desires and values. George, too, finds his own path and his own harmony. Their bond does not end in a breakup, but instead grows deeper as they both learn to appreciate each other for who they are and support each other despite everything that is going on around them. The movie tells the story of two people who, despite their different life paths and sexual orientations, find in each other support, love, and true friendship. This friendship becomes the foundation of their lives, and they both teach each other the importance of being honest and open, no matter what difficulties and obstacles stand in the way.